So it turns out to be a nodal mechanism that we can now target therapeutically for the benefit of many more patients than we previously thought possible. And how did we define the perfect fitting drug, if you will, for this particular nodal target? Well, AlphaFold, and this is a structure that I shared with Demis when we met last summer, was actually brilliant in figuring out how a heterotetrameric structure, so four things coming together, are actually forming a structure that creates a specific pocket for a drug that we discovered that is now disrupting this nodal mechanism and can therefore have therapeutic benefit for all the diseases that I mentioned. And I'm pleased to say that by using machine learning for images, and then ultimately AlphaFold for this target. We both did target discovery and then drug discovery that is now actually making its way toward patients in partnership with a pharmaceutical partner from my lab. And so these are, this is just an example to illustrate the power of these tools that can only get better and better as the years go on. And so I'm very excited for what the potential for the future
So
will be.
pathology, genomics, basic discovery. I lie at the far end. I'm a drug discoverer and a clinical scientist. I have a quick fun story as well. My lab has been involved in making antibody drug toxins. These are antibodies that are conjugated to toxins. One of the things that we use, of course, is AlphaFold to figure out the structure of the antibody and where to potentially attach the toxins. And a very common drug in women with Herceptin-resistant breast cancer is a drug called Enhertu. It's been out for a while now, very commonly used. The problem with Enhertu is that it causes a 10 to 20% risk of interstitial lung disease, which we didn't know why. And 2 to 3% of those patients with ILD will die. And this is how sad and of course how desperate the field is, that people will take a 2 to 3% risk of death in order to get the benefit of Enhertu. So we were making, using AI tools, we were making these various drug toxin combinations and putting them into models to show ILD. And we asked the AI module basically to make all combinations, so to create every possible combination. And one combination it threw out, which we said was a stupid idea, it threw out the combination of just the antibody with just the linker. And it said, you haven't really tested that part, have you? And we said, that's a really stupid idea. Of course, there's nothing that's a linker. Linker is a passive element. It's the piece that links the chemical, to the toxin to the antibody. Well, as case may be, turns out that in fact the linker is the toxic part. We're just publishing that data, and we would have not found that. So here's an example in which the AI module suggested an experiment that humans had to ingest and basically be humbled by, and then find out that in fact that was the right experiment to do. It was a control that a smart graduate student would have suggested. We just neglected to have done it. So across the spectrum, again, incredible use of AI. Let's talk about data, because a lot of the conversation has been focused on data. And when I think about data, I think about three corners. And we talked a little bit about this earlier. One corner is what I call access quality integration. So I'd like all of us to take each of these corners and reflect a little bit about this in your own fields. The second is privacy. And the third is equity. So again, access quality integration, equity, and privacy. In pathology, in discovery, in genomics, how do you think about these corners? You don't have to tackle all three of them. Pick one, pick two, but how do you think about these? Because these are the frontiers that we will be facing or are already facing as our science interfaces with AI. Anna.
Yeah. For pathology, the situation is really different from within different countries. Here in England, the government decided to make digitalization accessible to a lot of pathology departments. And in some other countries, for example, like in France, it started but very slowly. So